What the f? Hey guys, in this video I did 100 tier 7 solo dungeons and tracked the rewards. I'm going to be comparing some of the results to my previous video where I did 100 tier 6 solo dungeons, so make sure you check that one out. Link is in the description. In anticipation of getting dove a lot, I tried to move out into the black zone, sort of in the middle of nowhere, to reduce the amount of people diving and coming through. So I did these 100 dungeons out of two zones, Southgrave Thicket and Sunstrand Quicksand. When one started to get a little bit too busy, I just moved to the other one and kept going. And I used the new Outland Bank in Southgrave Thicket to store a lot of the loot. And it kind of worked out. I got ganked once in between my dungeons or on my way back and forth, and dove 4 times in total. Now, although I played some of the dives pretty horribly, I managed to never die. A lot of this came down to my build. I used 2 builds while doing these 100 dungeons, but both of them used the Undead Cape Demon Boot combo, and it saved my ass every single time. For the rest of my build, I was either using a Bloodletter build with a Mage Cowl and Mage Robe, or a Clarent Blade build with a Cleric Robe and Stalker Hood. For both of these builds, I also used a Moisek in the offhand, as neither of them have mana problems. Both of these builds have comparable clear times to the Spear build I was using in the tier 6 dungeon episode, although they're probably both just a tiny bit slower, so keep that in mind, as the total clear time was 14 hours, which comes around 2 hours longer than the tier 6 dungeons, and that's an average of 8 minute 24 seconds per dungeon compared to the 7 minute 12 second average of tier 6 dungeons. However, a lot of this could come down to the fact that I went through more floors in the tier 7 dungeons, coming to 170 floors total, whereas the tier 6 dungeons I only went through 154 floors. Similarly to the previous tier 6 video, there seems to be about 1 buff shrine per floor, with 162 total. Again, a similar pattern in the buff shrines with more greens and whites than reds, with 55 greens, 67 whites, and 40 red buffs. For loot chests, again we see a similar pattern with 64 common green chests, 123 uncommon blue chests, 32 rare or epic purple chests, and 1 legendary gold chest. Comparing this to the tier 6 dungeons, we can see a clear shift away from some of the higher tier chests towards more of the green and blue ones, as in the tier 6 dungeons, both the common and the rare were around 50 each, whereas with the tier 7s, the greens are up to 64 and the purples are all the way down to 32. I also only got 1 legendary chest instead of 2 this time, but who knows, that could be due to random chance. There are also more fame chests in the tier 7 dungeons, with a total of 9 green, 10 blue, and 1 purple. So the same pattern even as the loot chests here, as more greens, more blues, and even less purples. In total, these chests provided 392 beginner tomes of insight. Moving on to the fame, the total fame for these 100 tier 7 dungeons was just shy of 10 million, which comes out to around 710k fame per hour. Now this is not including the tome drops that I got in the fame chests, but if you compare it to tier 6 dungeons, which were around 625,000 per hour, tier 7 seemed to be around 15% more fame per hour. To put this into perspective a little bit, if you wanted to get a Mage Cowl from 0 spec to 69 spec, 69 times, you would have to do these 100 dungeons 87 times, and it would take you around 1,218 hours. Moving on to the loot, the quantity of all the items seems to be just a little bit less than the tier 6s, but the quality is definitely better. You can see there's a lot of tier 6 and 7 items here, where the tier 6 dungeons were more closer to tier 4 and 5 a lot of the time. You can see quite a bit of tier 8 or tier 8 equivalent items as well. Just even in the weapons, you can see like 3 or 4 here. Moving on to the boots tab. Boots, kind of the same, nothing too amazing in boots. Capes actually got a little bit less than the tier 6 dungeons with only like 3 special capes. Bags, less as well in total, but some good high quality bags. Bags of silver, you can see here we have around 3.5 mil in just the bags of silver, which is around 500k more than the tier 6 dungeon, so that's nice. Tomes of Insight, pretty much the exact same amount of tier 4 Tomes of Insight as I got in that tier 6 dungeon video. Maps, a little bit less as well. And runes, it seems like there's about the same amount of runes and relics and souls and random miscellaneous stuff, again, around the same amount, if not a little bit less. So I'm going to go get this stuff all sold again and see how much it's all worth. So for selling the loot, I did the same way as last time, where I just sold most of it to Kalaido market, tried to sell it to buy orders if they were good enough, or else put it 10-15% lower than market value just to make sure it's sold. Some of the higher quality stuff or rare stuff, I looked in the black market to see if there was a better price for them, and most things seem to sell pretty quickly. So at the end of selling it all, the weapons, armor, pretty much the gear, sold for around 7 mil. The capes and the bags are around 1.9 mil. Bags of silver, 3.5 mil. The tomes, around 2 mil. And the other miscellaneous runes, souls, relics, maps, things like that, came to a total of 4 mil. Altogether, this adds up to around 18.5 mil total, or 1.33 mil per hour. Now, this is pretty much the exact same amount of money per hour that I got from my tier 6 dungeon video, as that one's total was around 16.4 mil in 12 hours. So what's more value, tier 6 or tier 7 solo dungeons? In my experience, and my opinion, I think tier 6 is probably a little bit better. I know I probably got a little bit unlucky on the loot, so tier 7s is probably a little bit better money than tier 6s. But for, 4 to 5 times the danger level, I'm not sure that the 10 to 20% tops better rewards are worth it. Next video, I plan to test tier 8s, but if there's anything else you guys would like to see, let me know in the comment section down below. But that's it for this one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.